My parents said my son couldn't join the family sports day. Teams were already set. Later I found out there were 124 people. Most joined last minute. I didn't yell. I took action instead. 3 months later my parents were at my door, in a full-blown panic. "How was the sports thing?" I asked casually, blissfully unaware that 5 minutes later my stomach would drop through the pavement. That a cheerful recap of tug-of-war and water balloons would rewrite the last week of my life. That I was about to realize something I couldn't unrealize, and that it would change everything. But at the time, just small talk. It was after-school pickup. I was leaning against the school gate, counting down the minutes until my son's classroom spat him back out into the world. My cousin Kayla was next to me sipping something with oat milk and doing that thing she does where she talks like the event is still happening. "Oh my God, it was amazing," she said. They had obstacle courses, a mini soccer thing, spoon and water balloon races, face painting, total chaos. Jonah was covered in dirt and ketchup and joy. I think someone counted, there were like 124 people there. Kids, parents, even some neighbors. We ran out of juice boxes by 10. I smiled politely. It was the kind of smile I've perfected over the years. Warm, non-committal, good for weddings and PTA fundraisers. "Didn't Alex want to come?" she asked, frowning a little. "He would have loved it." "Oh, he did. Really wanted to, actually. But it was my fault," I said. "I missed the sign-up email. My mom said we could go on the waiting list, but no one dropped out." I said it like it was no big deal. Like it hadn't broken my kid's heart. Like he hadn't asked me 5 times a day, "Did Grandma say anyone canceled yet?" Kayla blinked. Then she laughed. "Wait, you're joking, right?" I blinked back. "What?" "There wasn't a list. We didn't sign up. Jonah decided the morning of. We just showed up and they tossed him on a team. It was totally casual. I'm pretty sure half the kids were added last minute." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. My face went flat. The kind of still I save for traffic stops where everyone suddenly forgets their own name. Occupational hazard. I work in law enforcement. Kayla's expression shifted. "You didn't know that?" "Still nothing from me." She looked rattled. "I thought you weren't coming. I figured you were working or something. I didn't realize they told you." I cut her off with a smile. "It's fine. We're fine." "You sure? You look a little. Just tired." That's when the bell rang. Like a fire alarm for awkward conversations. Alex came flying out of the building, all limbs and backpack straps. "Hey Mom," he said. Then he looked up at me and frowned. "Are you okay?" Even my 8-year-old could see it. I bent down, kissed the top of his head and said, "Yes, sweetheart. Just tired." We walked to the car. He chattered the whole way, about a lunchbox mix-up, a new classroom pet, a kid who can burp his last name. I nodded. I laughed. I unlocked the car and clicked his seatbelt and drove home. I don't remember most of it. That evening I made pasta. I helped with math homework. I said all the right things. I even packed his lunch for tomorrow and remembered the green napkin he likes. But inside, I wasn't in my body. I was still standing at that school gate hearing Kayla say, "There wasn't a list. We just showed up. They threw Jonah on a team." And just like that the whole story snapped into place. Not the one I was told. The one I wasn't supposed to see. A lie that clean doesn't come out of nowhere. You have to practice for that kind of cruelty. And in that moment I realized something chilling. This wasn't new. It was just the first time it had happened to my son. Growing up, I always had this vague feeling that I'd shown up after the credits had rolled. My sister and brother were planned, spaced 2 years apart. My mom even told me once that it was the perfect age gap. I was born 5 years later, during what I can only assume was an administrative error. I don't have proof I wasn't wanted. No diary entry saying, "Oh no, not another one." But I have years of evidence. Dozens of little clues like a trail of breadcrumbs leading directly to the family photo album, where I appear halfway through blurry and squinting in the background. My siblings didn't exactly greet me with open arms. When I was a baby, I was the reason they had to take turns watching cartoons. When I was a toddler, I was the reason they had to babysit instead of going out. They didn't pretend to like me. They pretended I wasn't there. And then came the rules. We had rules for everything. My parents were big believers in fairness. As long as fair meant you get less and you don't complain. There were rules about food, who got seconds, who got dessert. Somehow I always missed the cutoff. I once asked why I couldn't have more mashed potatoes and my mom said, because we have to make sure there's enough for the bigger appetites. That was code for your brother gets everything. But the worst rules were about participation. Every Sunday night my parents and siblings played Hearts, a 4-person card game that became a weekly ritual. They played at the kitchen table laughing and keeping score on little paper slips. I'd sit nearby, pretending not to care like a dog watching people eat steak and insisting it's fine with kibble. When I asked to join my dad said, it's a 4-player game. You'd ruin the balance. Like I was a math error. A decimal no one wanted to round up. Sometimes they let our cousins play. But never me. They also had chore rules, all very logical on the surface. My siblings had more homework so I got more chores. Since I had more free time, I got the toilet, the cat litter and baseboard scrubbing. My brother took out the trash once a week. My sister managed the calendar, which basically meant reminding mom about dentist appointments and getting praised for her leadership skills. I once asked why I always got the worst jobs and my mom said, because you're the most responsible. We trust you. Nothing like being punished with trust. Looking back, I'm not even angry about the chores. I'm angry I believed it all made sense. The rules always had just enough logic to make me question my own instincts. That's the thing, none of it was overt. I was never screamed at or locked in a cupboard. It was subtler than that. A lifetime of, sorry sweetie, not this time, and you'll understand when you're older. Except when I got older the answer was still no, just delivered with better vocabulary. When college rolled around my siblings both got parental support. They went off to places with Latin mottos and seasonal scarves. I stayed home. My parents had a rule. They would financially support any child who got at least 3 as in priority subjects, math, English, and chemistry. I got an A in English, A B in chemistry, and A C+ in math. They said, it wouldn't be fair to change the rules now. Of course not. So I joined the police academy. State-funded. No parental support required. I got paid while training and learned how to handle crisis calls, drunk uncles and situations where someone's screaming but technically not breaking the law. All of which, incidentally, prepared me well for future family gatherings. I thought I'd escaped. I'd built a life where the rules were consistent, predictable, and most importantly not designed to make me feel small. And then, last week, I found myself repeating the pattern I'd spent my whole life trying to outgrow. It started when Alex, my 8-year-old, came home from school nearly vibrating with excitement. Lucas said there's gonna be a family sports day. Can we go? I blinked. What sports day? Lucas said they're making teams and there'll be races and soccer and obstacle courses and everything. He said it's this Saturday. I texted my mom. She wrote back. There was an email invite. You didn't RSVP so I assumed you weren't interested. Teams are already full. I checked my inbox. Nothing. Not even spam. I told her that. She said maybe it bounced, maybe I deleted it. Happens all the time. Then she added, but I can put Alex on the waiting list. If anyone drops out I'll let you know. And I believed her. Because my mom was always big on rules. And because I work in law enforcement where the rules matter. Where they mean something. So I told Alex. He took it well. Better than I expected. Okay, he said quietly. And that was it. No yelling. No meltdown. Just a soft little nod and an okay that made my throat feel tight. But then he started asking. Gently. Hopefully. Like he didn't want to push but he really needed to know. Did Grandma say anyone canceled yet? Can we still go if someone drops out? Did you check your phone? Maybe they'll make a new team if I'm really good? It wasn't once a day. It was 5. Maybe 10. He asked with that careful kind of hope only kids have. The kind that tries not to be annoying because deep down they're scared the answer might really be no. Every time I texted my mom. And every time she replied with the same careful, clipped messages. No change yet. Still full. Sorry, sweetheart. I told myself she was being fair. Respecting the rules. Doing what she thought was right. And I was proud of Alex. I really was. He didn't throw a tantrum. He didn't act out. He just waited. Hopefully. Quietly. He still practiced soccer in the yard. Still packed his water bottle and sneakers the night before just in case. I told myself we were both doing the right thing. That this was a good lesson about fairness. About how life has rules. And then I found out it was all a lie. There was no deadline. No closed list. No full teams. No wait list. Just an excuse. And I believed it. I passed it on. I told my son that the system was fair, that he wasn't being excluded, just unlucky. And now I can't stop thinking about that. Because I spent my entire childhood sitting on the sidelines of a game I was never allowed to play. And when it finally mattered, when I had the chance to do it differently, I put my own kid on the bench beside me. They didn't just lie to me. They made me lie to him. And that's a kind of betrayal I don't know how to forgive. Not from them. Not from me. But I can promise this, it's not over. And next time I won't be sitting quietly on the side. At first I kept thinking, why would they do this? Why? Why go through the effort of pretending there was a list? Why let him hope like that? But I stopped myself. Because deep down I already knew the answer. Or worse, I knew there wasn't one that would make it make sense. Not to me. Not to Alex. So I let go of why. And I started asking the only question that actually mattered. Who helped cover it up? Who stood there smiling while my son stood on the sidelines with his water bottle and his hope? Because once I knew who, I could make damn sure they'd never get that close to him again. So I did what I do best. Quiet, controlled face-to-face conversations. No drama. No screaming. Just calmly delivered truth. One person at a time. First, my mother. I went over the next evening. No warning. No heads up. Just rang the bell like I needed a cup of sugar. She opened the door in her usual soft focus apron, all warmth and fake surprise. Oh. I wasn't expecting. There was no waiting list, I said. Flat. No smile. No hello. Just that. Her face didn't move. What are you talking about? You told me Alex was on a waiting list. That the teams were full. She gave this little laugh, thin, papery, the kind people use when they're cornered and still trying to charm their way out. Oh honey, it was just a miscommunication. I thought. No, you didn't. I looked her dead in the eye. You lied. That one hit. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then let out this long, performative sigh, the kind she used when I was a kid and asked questions that annoyed her. I just didn't want things to get messy. There were so many kids already and not everyone can. There were 124 people there, I said. Jonah joined the morning of. So did Mindy's twins. Alex was the only one excluded. She shifted her weight the way people do when they know they're losing. Well, I didn't realize you were that invested. I texted you 5 times. He tried the hurt look. You're being very aggressive. No, I said, calm as ever. I'm being clear. She didn't apologize. Of course not. She called it a judgment call. Said things fall through the cracks. Like my son. I walked out before I said something I'd regret. Although honestly, I kind of regret not filming her face when I said the word lie. Next, my father. He was in the garage, fiddling with old tools like that's going to get him canonized. I told him what Mom said. About the list. About Alex. He looked down at his workbench like it might offer him a way out. I didn't know what she told you. She said there was no space. That the teams were full. Long sigh. Well, we didn't want drama. Right. Of course. The fragile piece of a barbecue mattered more than an 8-year-old's dignity. Alex hoping every day for a spot? I said. That's real drama. He didn't respond. You knew, I said. You helped organize. He mumbled something about just helping with chairs, which would have been funny if it wasn't so insulting. You knew, I repeated softer now. And you said nothing. He didn't meet my eyes. Just stood there, surrounded by rusted tools and a silence I no longer felt responsible for filling. I left him to it. Then came my sister. We met for coffee at her request. She picked a place with cute chairs and expensive muffins, probably hoping the vibe would do the emotional heavy lifting. So, she said, crossing her legs like a talk show guest. Heard you're on the warpath. Not a warpath, I said. Just asking people why they lied to an 8-year-old. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oh my God, you're really upset about this? No, I said. I'm really calm. That's what makes this worse. You're taking this way too personally. Right, I said. Because it was just my son. She sipped her oat milk latte and rolled her eyes. You always do this. Do what? Make everything a big thing. It was a casual event. We didn't think you cared. Did you know Mom told me teams were full? Her mouth twitched. Just for a second. Then she smiled wide and polished. Honestly, I didn't know what she told you. But you knew Alex wasn't invited. Silence. That was all I needed. Last, my brother. We met in a parking lot. Neutral ground. He leaned against his car like we were meeting to exchange hostages. When I told him what Mom said about the waiting list, he frowned. That's not what she told me, he said. What did she tell you? That you were busy. That you said no. I stared at him. You believed that? He shrugged. You weren't at the last 2 family events. I was working. You know, my job. He shrugged again. It's just a family sports day. Don't blow this up. You knew there wasn't a list. Sure. But I didn't know what Mom told you. It's not like I was involved. But you didn't ask. No. And you didn't tell me. No. He looked at me like I was being irrational. Like I was the one making it personal. Maybe I was. As it was. After that, I started talking to everyone else. Cousins, in-laws, people who were actually at the event. Face to face in quiet places with calm voices. I told them what Mom had said. That I'd asked to sign Alex up. That she told me there was a list and that it was full. Every single person looked shocked. Wait, said my cousin Ashley. I thought you were out of town. Nope. I assumed you didn't want to come, said another. She said you had other plans, said a third. Some of them looked genuinely shaken. One aunt even teared up and said, if I'd known, I would have called you myself. One thing became very clear. None of them were in on it. The lie was tightly held. Just my parents and siblings. Everyone else had been fed stories. Subtle little edits to make sure no one asked too many questions. They didn't just keep him out. They made sure no one would question it. I didn't post anything. I didn't call people out publicly. I didn't write some long Facebook takedown. I didn't need to. The truth was doing just fine on its own. But then, of course, my mother tried to reclaim the narrative. She posted in the extended family group chat. It's very hurtful to hear certain things being said that aren't true. We've always tried our best. Family should forgive, not spread rumors. Some people are choosing to rewrite events in a very unfair light. No names. No details. But everyone knew who she meant. So I responded. No rant. No yelling. Just a screenshot of my messages with her. Asking about the event, asking to sign Alex up, asking if anyone dropped out. And beneath it I wrote, I'm not spreading rumors. I'm showing receipts. The chat went silent. 4 hours. Then someone liked my message. Then another. And then nothing from her side. No apology. No explanation. Just digital silence from the people who raised me. And for the first time in a long time that silence felt like relief. But I knew it wasn't the end. Not even close. I didn't wait for an apology. The moment I hit send on that message, the one with the screenshots, the timestamps, the evidence, I blocked all 4 of them. Mom, Dad, my sister, my brother. No long speech. No warning. No drawn-out confrontation where they fake cry and talk about healing. Just silence. Controlled, deliberate silence. I didn't even give them a chance to spin it. They'd had weeks for that. Months if you count the years of groundwork leading up to it. No more playing family with people who don't know what the word means. What I hadn't done, yet, was tell Alex. I hadn't planned to. But after the group chat message I started getting little signals. A cousin's kid asked him if he was still mad about sports day. One mom from school texted me something vague and well-meaning that made it clear the gossip train was already leaving the station. And I couldn't risk it. If he was going to find out the truth, it had to come from me. Not from a classmate with half the facts and no filter. So I dreaded it. Because if it hit me like a truck, and I'm a cop trained to stay calm when someone's bleeding on a sidewalk, then what the hell would it do to an 8-year-old? But I didn't have the luxury of shielding him anymore. So I got up early one morning, made pancakes and sat across from him like we were about to talk about math homework. Hey, I said softly. I need to tell you something. About the sports day. He blinked at me. Still chewing. You remember how we thought there was a waiting list? He nodded. That wasn't true. Grandma, she lied. There was space. A lot of space. She just didn't want us there. He didn't say anything. I waited. Finally, he asked, in the smallest voice I've ever heard from him, did I do something wrong? I swallowed hard. No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything. If anyone did something wrong, it was me. I think she didn't want me there. And you got caught in the crossfire." He looked down at his plate. His hands were still. But I was excited. "I know," I said, and somehow managed to keep my voice steady. "I know you were." He didn't cry. Just nodded. Then asked if we could watch cartoons later. I said yes. Then I went to the bathroom and sat on the floor for 10 minutes, shaking. That afternoon I opened a new group chat. Titled it, "Something Better." I sent the first message. "I'm organizing a new family sports event. Everyone's invited. Except my parents, sister, and brother. Let me know if you're in." I stared at the screen, heart thudding. Then the replies started rolling in. 100% in. Yes. Let's make it amazing. Already blocking out the date. Need me to bring cones or chaos? Within hours we had volunteers, team captains, a designated snack table coordinator, and someone's uncle who owned a bounce house. But most importantly, we had sides. It wasn't just an event. It was a statement. We weren't pretending everything was fine anymore. No more polite silences. No more gritted teeth over potato salad. This was a rebellion. And I wasn't leading it alone. The planning was chaotic in the best way. I'd never organized something this big before, but apparently rage and spreadsheet addiction are a powerful combo. We picked a date. Rented a park. Named the teams after ridiculous things. Team Pickle, Team Tornado, Team Left Sock. People messaged me privately, telling me what happened at the last event was awful, that they wished they'd known sooner. Some even offered to help pay for equipment. One cousin wrote, "I told my mom if she goes to their house again, she's not welcome at mine." Another said, "We all saw how they treated you. We're done pretending." It wasn't just inclusion. It was alliance. We had rules, the ironic kind. Rule number 1. Everyone's allowed. Rule number 2. Unless you excluded a child for sport. 3 days before the event, my mom and sister showed up at school pickup. Like they thought public places made them immune. I saw them standing by the parking lot, all pearls and forced smiles. I didn't even flinch. "Can we talk?" my mom called out. "Nope," I said. "Busy." My sister took a step forward. "You really going to keep the kids out of this?" "You did that already," I said without stopping. "You're being vindictive." "No," I said, opening the car door. "I'm being selective." My mom raised her voice. "You're tearing this family apart." "You tore it," I said. "I'm just cleaning up the pieces." I drove off before they could say another word. The next day their tactics changed. They sent a kid. My niece, sweet, shy, the kind who still hugs with both arms, came up to me after school and asked if she could join our sports day. "Mom said maybe you'd say yes if I asked," she whispered. I knelt beside her. "Of course you can come, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong." Her face lit up. I glanced across the field. My sister was watching from a distance. Smiling. She thought she won something. She didn't. The day of the event felt electric. Over 100 people showed up. We had music, ice cream coolers, mismatched team shirts, and someone brought a karaoke machine even though it had nothing to do with sports. Alex wore a captain's armband and greeted every kid like a tiny seal. He took it very seriously. I've never seen him look prouder. Then halfway through the day they arrived. All of them. My mom. My dad. My sister. My brother. Their spouses. Their casseroles. Not invited. Not wanted. But there anyway. Their kids ran off to join the games. I let them. I wouldn't punish children for adult cruelty. But the adults? We were ready. We'd agreed in advance. No greetings, no smiles, no eye contact. They would not be seated. They would not be served. They would be seen and not welcomed. They walked up to the tables and conversations died. They stood awkwardly waiting for a gap to step into and none appeared. My mom tried to speak to someone, got a tight nod and a turn back. They were invisible. And in that invisibility, deeply visible. Eventually they stood by the trash cans. Then near the edge of the field. Then they left. The kids were upset. One of them had half his face painted like a dinosaur. The other had just won a race and didn't want to go. But they left anyway. Outcasts. By their own doing. 3 days later they came to my door. My mom. My dad. My sister. Apparently my brother had better things to do, or more likely hoped to avoid another round of humiliation. I opened the door just enough to let them know I wasn't afraid. Just done. You humiliated us, my mother said. No, I said. You did that. I just stopped hiding it. You made us feel like criminals. You made a child feel invisible. You're lucky all you got was a cold shoulder. My sister stepped forward. You need to fix this. I smiled. I did. It was perfect. My mom narrowed her eyes. You're going to regret this one day. Already did, I said. That's why I stopped. And then I shut the door. No anger. No theatrics. Just a full stop. I walked back into the kitchen where Alex was drawing on the whiteboard I hung up just for him. He turned to me. Mom, next year's team name should be the Comeback Kids. I grinned. Sounds like a plan. Because we were. And we already had. I still don't know if I went too far. But I do know I protected my kid. And I'd do it again. What do you think? Did I cross a line, or finally draw one? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.